Coming up on First at 4, police in Perry County are investigating a deadly shooting, what we know about the victim and the suspect now in custody. Plus, crews in Baltimore are taking an essential step to get the port up and running again after that deadly bridge collapse.
Plus, we could see some rough weather over the next 36 hours. Your forecast on the way as Mountain News First at 4 starts now.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News First at 4.
Good afternoon, I'm Steve Hensley. First at 4, a substantial threat for severe thunderstorms is rolling into our region. It's a first alert weather day, but the biggest threat is for tomorrow. First alert meteorologist Cameron Aaron is here now with our first look at the forecast. Cameron.
Yes, Steve, the forecast right now not too bad for this afternoon, also this evening, but like you mentioned, we are tracking the potential for some rough weather as we go into tomorrow. So we do have a first alert weather day in place for the potential for some strong to severe storms, and all modes of severe weather are on the table. That's heavy rain, strong straight line winds, large hail, and possibly some tornadoes as well. So be sure that you stay weather aware over the next 36 hours, and you have multiple ways to receive warnings as well. Right now on first alert pinpoint Doppler, we are dry. But notice as we zoom out, we are tracking this strong weather system already producing some severe weather over Oklahoma, also into Kansas and Illinois at this hour. And that weather system is moving into our direction. Now this evening, technically we have a level 1 risk of severe weather in place for the area south of the Mountain Parkway and for areas north of the Mountain Parkway for Moorhead, also over to Louisa. That is a level 2 slight risk of severe weather. I do think most of us are seeing no issues as we go into tonight, but possibly a couple of showers and maybe a thunderstorm or two, especially close to the I-64 corridor. Check out these current temperatures. We have some 80s across the region right now. 80 in Jackson, 81 for Hazard, and 79 for Manchester, also in Harlan. And we are tracking some mainly dry weather as we go into this evening. Again, possibly a stray shower or maybe a thunderstorm, but no big issues overnight. And the main show looks to be on Tuesday. More details on that Tuesday threat coming up in just a few minutes. Steve?
All right, Cameron, thanks. And of course, you can stay on top of the severe weather and any weather alerts by downloading the WYMT weather app. You can scan that QR code there on your screen with your phone's camera. It will take you to where you can download that app. It's free for both Android and iPhone users. Police arrested a man they say was involved in a deadly shooting Saturday night in Perry County. WYMT's Chandler Wilcox has more about what we know about the situation.
Police arrested Jonathan Prophet in Letcher County and brought him here to the Kentucky River Regional Jail. Prophet is charged with murdering Samuel Smith. Police said the shooting happened on the Perry-Knott County line. Perry County Sheriff Joe Ingles says the investigation began after a 911 call.
911 call came in as somebody was taking a gunshot victim to the hospital by their private vehicle. So that's the call we received. We didn't know where the shooting happened at or anything, so it took some time to figure out where it happened at.
Ingles says Smith later died at the hospital. Coming up at 6, we will take a closer look at what police have learned about the incident. In Perry County, Chandler Wilcox, WYMT Mountain News.
Sheriff Ingle also says police have been in contact with a second suspect they say was driving during the incident. As of now, that driver has not been charged. 3 people are dead in a crash that occurred not long after Easter Sunday church services had ended in a southern Kentucky community. The crash happened on US 127 in Casey County. People say it took place at a dangerous intersection. WYMT's Phil Pendleton spoke to family members and has more.
James and Teresa Burton had spent a Easter like so many others. They went to a church service Sunday morning, looking forward to a dinner that afternoon when a crash simply claimed their lives.
They were both standing at the front with their hands lifted, worshiping the Lord, and you know, there's not a better memory you can have than that.
Sunday morning worship led to an afternoon tragedy, but James and Teresa Burton's family say they are thankful for their faith.
You know, that's something that we've got a hope in and a trust in, and I'm so, you know, we can be so thankful for that hope that we have of seeing our family members again.
State police say the crash happened when a car driven by 85-year-old Otis Tapscott went through a stop sign on 70 and then into the path of the car that the Burtons were driving. Police say they have worked a lot of crashes there.
I think there needs to be a traffic light there because, you know, whether it would have helped prevent the accident or not, we don't know.
Kentucky State Police are still investigating the cause of this crash, looking into all the factors that may have played a role into what caused it to take place. They received assistance from the Casey County Sheriff's Office, from Liberty Police, local EMS, and other first responders. Casey County, Phil Pendleton, now back to you.
Police say 21-year-old Jackie Dillon Cooper, that relatives say was a nephew of the Burtons, was hurt, but they are optimistic he will recover. President Joe Biden will travel to Baltimore Friday following the Francis Scott Key Bridge disaster. He'll meet with local officials and visit the collapsed structure. Right now, crews are working to open a temporary alternate channel around the wreckage of the bridge. It's an essential step to get the Port of Baltimore running again and to get the economy back on track.
This will be for vessels that don't draw as much water, so about 11 feet. As work goes on at the same time to clear the main channel, that's 50 feet. And that's the channel we have to clear to get more container ships back into the port of Baltimore.
The bodies of 4 victims have yet to be recovered. Authorities believe they are trapped in the tangle of steel and concrete underwater that crews are working to remove right now. Convicted murderer Alex Murdaugh received another prison sentence today. A federal judge sentenced him to 40 years in prison for financial crimes involving the theft of millions of dollars from his law firm and clients. Last year, he had pleaded guilty to nearly 24 charges of conspiracy, fraud, and money laundering. Murdaugh is currently serving 2 life sentences for the murders of his wife and his 22-year-old son. Mass protests in Israel over the weekend calling for Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to resign. Tens of thousands turned out in Jerusalem and Tel Aviv to express their anger and anguish. They are upset over Netanyahu's handling of the war with Hamas, and they want him to do more to bring the remaining hostages home.
This government is doing horrendous things in Gaza, not in our name, and we want the government to take responsibility and resign today, right now.
The war was ignited, of course, by Hamas launching its deadly attack on October 7th, slaughtering civilians in their own home. Hamas says it will not agree to a deal to release the remaining hostages without a permanent ceasefire. Coming up on First at 4, King Charles back in the public spotlight after his cancer diagnosis. We'll have a look at the tumultuous year so far for the Royals.
Plus, we are tracking some strong to severe storms, mainly tomorrow. Those details coming up.